Hello and welcome on whatever device you are listening to and watching 2020 Coaching Convos. Passionately curious, and here with me, Julie Crabb. And here I am again, doing what I love, which is connecting with guest coaches to talk about their passions and continuing the pursuit of learning as ever. So, yes, in this series, coaches are talking about their passions and interests, what fires them up, what they're exploring, what keeps them learning. And for me and for others listening, it's a great opportunity to figure out what we want to learn from these passions for our own coaching practice. So this week, my guest is someone whose voice you might recognize from one of the earlier audio podcasts in Series 1. And she's the founder of Your Magnificent Mind and focuses on supporting people to overcome overthinking, procrastination, and burnout. Recognize any of those? Welcome, 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 Raluca Pricop.
Thank you, Julie. Thank you for having me again on your podcast. It's always lovely to listen to your voice and to get the insight of things that are going on.
Yes,
It's an honor for me to be here.
Oh, and me too. It's lovely to have you and speak to you again, Raluca. I love listening to your voice too. You have a very precise way of speaking, which I find very drawing, which is great. So yeah, it's good to see you again. Ahead of us talking about coaching and your passion, Raluca, I've got to tell you actually that the tip you gave me on making ice cubes out of ginger and cloves and lemon for drinks was absolutely great, and I'm using my cubes regularly. So thank you for that.
Good. I'm happy to hear that.
And I had a quick check on your LinkedIn profile, and it says that you coach high achievers. So I just wanted to start by asking you, how do you define a high achiever? Who are these people that you coach?
Well, I think we tend to connect with people like us. I was a high achiever. I was a type of person that would have given 200% to achieve something. If I would have put my mind into whatever, I would have definitely accomplished that. Sometimes with quite high price in terms of well-being mainly. So high achievers, I would say there are very competitive people, very capable people, people that strive for the best, sometimes perfectionists. You can find them basically, I think, in every domain or every field. And
That's something I was going to ask you actually. So it's not necessarily people who are high achieving at work, but maybe high achieving in anything that they are pursuing. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you for that explanation. So, as usual on this series, we've got about 15 minutes to satisfy curiosity about your passion. So, can you please just introduce what your passion is, Raluca?
Well, yeah, it's something that I developed quite recently. As you know, I specialize in mindset. And in my pursuit of learning more as a learning junkie, I came across something very interesting that blends my knowledge as a nurse with my knowledge as a coach. And that's microbiome, gut microbiome to be more specific, and it's linked to our mindset. I came across a few studies that were literally mind-blowing. And it ignites a passion and a curiosity around this field.
So, given that we don't have a load of time, could you kind of describe in a nutshell what that link between mindset and gut is? and maybe just start with what you mean by mindset too, because that's a phrase or a term that's commonly used, but maybe people mean different things by it.
Yeah, I would try to keep it sweet and short. In my opinion, mindset is like a lens through which we see and interact with the world around us. I'm wearing glasses, so probably this metaphor helps me. This lens is shaped by previous experiences, the way we've been brought up, and a lot of things, but mainly it's the way we perceive the world around us. And it's also what dictates the way our life goes. Mindset basically sits at the base of everything that we do, from the way we step out of our houses, or the way we engage with people, the way we wake up in the morning, what we eat, how we speak, what we achieve or we don't achieve. Yeah, that would be mindset in a
Okay,
few
that's
words.
really helpful. Thank you. And the relationship between that and gut, can you give us a few pointers so that you can tell us what research
Mm.
says about mindset and gut?
Yeah, I will actually mention the first thing that I came across, which is study from 2015, conducted by Dr. Jessica Yano, in which she discovered that 90% of serotonin, which is the so-called feel-good hormone, is produced in our gut, not in our brain, how it was believed. Well, that was enough for me to start digging into it.
Mm,
Let's put it this way. And I came across things like another study from the same year, published in the Journal of Psychiatric Research, in which it was found that 60% of people that experience anxiety have also disrupted gut microbiome. And I was thinking, 2015 means 9 years ago. If these things were known for 9 years, how come, as a medical professional, I didn't find out before? And yeah, it ignited my curiosity, and I started researching more and learning more about it and understanding how it works.
mm, fantastic.
And
I'm quite interested in language and metaphor. And what the phrase that was going through my mind as you were talking about that relationship is how we talk about gut feelings.
That's a very good point.
Mm,
That's a very, very good point. We have gut feelings all the time,
mm,
but how many times do we think about our gut?
mhm. Usually, I only think about my gut when it's causing me a problem, rather than, maybe, yeah. If we listen to our guts, maybe we'd hear a bit more about what it has to say about what's
Yeah.
going on in our body and our brains. Yeah.
It's being said that we have three hearts, isn't it? Three
So
brains, actually. Three brains.
three brains.
The
Okay.
one in the head, the one in the heart, and the third one would be our gut.
Yes. Yeah.
And yeah, it fires up quite quickly when we eat something nasty, for example. We feel unwell straight away. We start with rapid breathing, with sweats, cold or hot, or panic. It's that fast. And the reason is that fast is because our gut is able to produce neurotransmitters, which are basically signaling molecules, chemicals that our neurons use to communicate. And there is one more interesting thing. It's the vagus nerve, which starts at the base of our head and goes all the way through the gut. And it acts like a superhighway, because you were talking about metaphors, of communication between our gut and our brain. So every time we feed our gut with healthy nutrients, it sends positive signals to our brain. When we do the opposite, obviously the opposite happens and we don't feel good.
Mm. Gosh, I can hear your experience and your intense knowledge as a health professional coming through here as a qualified health professional. It's fascinating. I've got a kind of a practical and applied question to ask. So, I mean, I was really interested in that relationship between overthinking and procrastination. And I thought, that does apply to me a little because I know that I can really get stuck into detailed planning in order to avoid taking action. So it got me thinking, so if I was a client of Raluca's, if I was a client of yours, how would you approach that with me in relation to mindset and gut? How what would you do to help move me forward in that?
That's a very interesting question, and thank you for asking it. Um, I would start with a Latin proverb, an old Latin proverb, which says "mens sana in corpore sano." It means basically a healthy mind in a healthy body. So whatever work we want to do with our mind, it's actually easier if we start and use our body to get there. And I'm working on a program about this, but I won't spill the
Yeah.
beans yet, which is probably gonna be called Crack the Code on Your Mind Through Your Body. Um, the clients who work with me obviously benefit from all my medical knowledge as well, but is actually now medically, scientifically proven that you can actually switch your mindset using your body. And yeah, overthinking, it's something that can happen when we don't feel very well. So if we start improving the way we feel in our body, our mind tends to naturally follow. And this is when coaching becomes not more useful, I would say, um, more effective.
Mhm.
That's
So
the
in
word.
sorry to interrupt you. So in your coaching sessions, um, do you use a lot more physical kind of work with the client as much as communication through talking?
Well, I think it depends on the client a lot because I'm quite not quite. I am very flexible, and um, I I'm very aware of the fact that as long as there aren't two identical DNAs in the world, there won't be two identical people. So my approach is very tailored.
Mhm.
But obviously, if required, I I'm using my knowledge definitely. You
Yes.
know, we don't teach in our coaching. However, depending on the client needs, if the client benefits from it and agrees to it and wishes to learn more and to use other methods as well,
Mm,
here I am.
brilliant. That's good to hear. And because we're only touching on this very complicated and extensive subject, this passion of yours, about which I'm intrigued about to hear more about the program that you've got planned, but that will come later, I'm sure, on LinkedIn and other social media. Um, where would other coaches go to get detail about the relationship, the mindset and gut relationship?
Um, I think if you specifically look for it on Google, you will definitely find some articles.
Mhm.
I'm using something that I find extremely useful, Google Alerts, because that's an area of interest for me. So I have set up a Google Alert every time a study is being published about gut microbiome. I receive a news letter with a link about it to
Mm,
read it. So I think other coaches can find this information online for sure because that is where I'm getting it from
mm,
mainly. But if I would if I would suggest something, I think that based on each coach's passion they can use the Google Alerts to find out more and be alerted about new things in their preferred area of interest. That's
Yeah,
a useful tool.
it is a very practical tip aside from passion. That's great. Thank you. Okay, so we are coming towards the end of the podcast, Raluca. Believe it or not, it goes so fast this
Can't
time.
believe it.
So can I very quickly ask you three quick fire questions?
Shoot.
Um, Brilliant. So the first one is, what have you had particular success with in relation to your coaching and your passion?
Um, there is something that I'm very proud of. I had a client with a huge progress, a client which was extremely stuck at some point in life, who managed to completely change his view of life and his behavior. And I went a bit aside in those sessions in terms that I became very inventive. As I said, I'm tailoring anyway everything based on the client needs, but I managed to surprise myself with a role play that came up in one of the sessions with a huge impact. Witnessing that is quite empowering.
Mm,
I
fantastic.
won't give more details because obviously confidentiality.
Absolutely. But just the application of a different technique, including
Yeah.
role play, into a session. Fantastic. Okay, thank you. And if coaches listening were to take one thing away from what you have shared about your passion, what would you want them to hold on to from the podcast?
Um, well, for their own benefit and health, to pay more attention to what they eat is very important. And from a professional point of view, I would say just be curious. And whatever your area of expertise is, find facts, find details, find science, find everything that you can use to improve yourself, and by improving yourself, helping your clients, because isn't it? It's about helping others.
Hmm.
That's our
Fantastic.
end goal.
Yes, that's very true. Thank you, Raluca. And lastly, a really quick one. For people who want to connect with you and to know more about you, where can they find you?
Well, I think the easiest way is to go on yourmagnificentmind.com. They can book a complimentary session with me, which is free, obviously, and also they can find there all my social links. And yeah, I'm easy to find. Yourmagnificentmind.com.
Good stuff. Thank you. And I'll make sure
Thank
that we
you.
include your details on the episode description too, Raluca. I've got to say, the one conversation that I had with you outside of podcasting with you definitely influenced the way that I was thinking about my food. So I really appreciate that.
Happy to hear it.
Okay. So we're coming to the end of this particular podcast, this particular episode. So listeners and followers of 2020 Coaching Convos podcast, if you enjoyed this particular episode, please do share and subscribe to it and tell me what you want to hear more about in 2020 Coaching Convos with me, Julie Crabb. Till next time.